Welcome to the Tenet Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson here in Denver, Colorado, joined by my friend and partner, Wes Brown.
Feliz Navidad. It's almost Christmas. We're recording this the Sunday before, but this will air Christmas Eve, so be prepared for Santa to land on your roofs. You'll hear little reindeer hoof feet tonight. All right, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Hey, yeah, we can say that.
Yeah.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
He is. I don't know if I'm good enough to receive anything from Santa this year. I probably am getting reindeer poop, or that's what my wife has told me.
Reindeer poop.
Our guest this week, I'm so excited. I know that I say that a lot, but our guest this week is Mary Chiaramonte. She's an American artist residing in Richmond, Virginia. She creates masterpieces that are both mesmerizing and intoxicating, steeped deep with visual metaphor and symbolism. Mary, how are you today?
Great. Thank you for having me on here. This is really nice of you. Thanks for thinking of me. I'm glad that you guys are doing this too. It helps us artists out, and so I really appreciate it.
We thank you because, without the artists and somebody to talk to, this surely wouldn't move forward because nobody probably would tune in if it was just Wes and I. So you're the missing piece of the puzzle.
You guys seem pretty fun. I'm sure I would listen. So
I think the correct answer would be, you guys are pretty interesting. I think I will listen. Just kidding.
Exactly. What he said.
I want to just dive right in, and I want you to describe in your own words the kind of work that you do. And for our listeners today, if you want to check out Mary's website, the website is maryc.com. It's www.merrysee.com. So describe in your own words your work, because I think obviously everybody has their own perception of artists and their work, but, it's kind of speculation. So I think it's better to hear it directly from the artist. So kind of describe what kind of work you do.
Okay. That's the easiest question. I like to focus on the relationship between people and the land. And I love nature. It's one of the biggest things that I work with. And I've always loved painting anything that has to do with a natural world, the land, the woods, and, people in scenes that are actually doing something, or there is some kind of narrative story and piece to it that makes it, I don't know, like a story. And I kind of pulled away from that for a few years, and I was working more with portraiture, but it's like I zoomed into a face more and started painting a lot of faces and less of the natural world. And now I'm heading back in the other direction. I want to revisit that and bring in more of a landscape and people and animals in the landscape, and almost like a fable. I want to tell stories like fables and folklore and things of that nature, because they're just really my favorite things. And that's what I love best. And I think we really need to, as artists, draw from within us the things that we do love best to make the most successful work or poignant work. So that's what I'm trying to do now. And I've just recently started getting back into that. So
you kind of come from that, the relationship between man and land kind of comes from your childhood growing up in Appalachia, right?
Right. And I forget what I think some famous, well-known psychologist said this, that the first 6 years of a child's life is what makes the person that you're going to be for the rest of your life, the timeline where you gain your personality. And so in the way we grew up, it was, I think, a little different than most people in the 80s. My parents were actually from Baltimore, and they did the whole hippie thing. And I think a lot of families did this. They moved out to the middle of nowhere and started living off the land. And my parents, I think they like took it to heart. And because we grew our own food, like everything we ate, we grew. We had 2 big gardens, and we raised rabbits for our meat, and we had chickens and honeybees and all that. And we also had we had a pet groundhog. Her name was Betty Lou. It was so bizarre that we had a pet groundhog, but we found her. I don't remember how we acquired her, but she had been abandoned, I guess. And we raised her from a kit. Are they kits?
That's a pups, I think.
Anyway, we raised her from a pup, and we had her for, I think, about a year or so. And I can remember feeding her dog food, which I'm sure was great, but like, but when we had to move to Virginia, we couldn't take her with us. So we took her back the holler and let her go. And we had to run to get away from her because she kept following us, and we could just hear her screaming. And it was just the saddest thing. It was awful. And it's like, I don't know. I can understand that we had to do that, but part of me just hates to be human. And I feel almost apologetic that I am towards the land and the animals. I don't want to be hippy dippy, but that's just how I feel.
I don't think that's hippy dippy at all. I mean,
No.
You grew up in an atmosphere that's very unique. And you're of a generation, I'm of the same generation. Wes is pretty much the same generation. And we grew up spending time, outdoors. And
Right.
It was a different time. We didn't have computers and phones. And then you were living out in the middle of nowhere. I assume where you were living was kind of isolated. And so that's a whole different experience. When you're in touch with the natural world, it gives you a whole different perspective about the land and our world. And I think you have an appreciation and desire to be a steward of the land. Like you really are, a proponent of the resources, and you don't take it for granted. Like I think a lot of people do in this day and age with technology and people living in urban centers. It's the people that live in rural areas that really have a connection to the land.
Yeah.
Right.
And when I grew up around cattle and horses and, farming in eastern South Dakota. So I totally, connect with that lifestyle. But there is a part of me, the older I've gotten, this is going to sound weird. When I pass a cattle truck going to the market, I feel a little pang in my chest. I feel bad. And when I see it's empty, I don't feel so bad. When I see the cows in there, though, I feel bad. But I'm getting a whole quarter beef in a couple of weeks. So I try to live with that dualism in me, that battle of like, I like a good steak and I feel bad for the cows. So I can't do the vegan thing yet. Maybe one day, who knows? But I totally I totally understand that. And that story, of leaving the groundhog behind, I can see where that could have an impact on you long term, and growing up in that environment, you're going to have, who your parents are, you're going to have that connection to land that's different than maybe what we would say the average person is. But I think it's wonderful that you have that not necessarily the guilt, but the feeling for it, that you are moved by animals and the land. And we should take heed to that because we see it. Our earth is in danger because, we're at 7 billion people. And,
Right.
that's, I don't know what the critical mass is, but that seems like pretty high, but.
Right. And I worry about that too. And really, I kind of suspect that population or overpopulation is the root of all evil and destruction. Like, I just feel like we're so destructive as a race, and we just have no regard for it most of the time. But I don't know. It's still, I'm the same way. I'm not vegetarian either. So I have a problem with that too. I'm just like, I really got to stop doing this, but shame on me. But I don't know. I just really enjoy the land so much, and I just want to spend all my time there. Like, I can remember as a child, I mean, if I wasn't drawing or painting or working the farm, we did work the farm a lot as children. My mom actually said, if these days I'd be arrested for child labor, probably.
Well, there are exceptions for the agriculture because they still work their tails off as kids.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's also why we go to school when we go, like children go to school in the winter months when there isn't harvesting, and then they take summers off. I mean, it's all connected to the ag, so.
Right. And we, I enjoyed that we were workers and that we were brought up in this way, because I feel like it instilled a sense of work ethic, and, it made me essentially a harder worker, which I think you need to be an artist, because I don't know, it's like you have to put in a lot to get a little as an artist. And
you have to be disciplined.
Right,
Yeah.
Definitely. And I try to treat it as a 9-to-5 job, and I'd like to work even more than that. And nowadays it's a little harder for me to work as long as I want to, because I have this autoimmune thing where my histamine can't regulate itself. So, and my body thinks that I'm allergic to like every single thing. So it's just going off the rails. And it took me like for years, I felt the past several years, I've felt almost like catatonic. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And we were doing all this blood work, and I just felt brain dead, and I felt tired, and it just really just general malaise. And finally, and lots of headaches. It's been like real fun, but finally it amped itself up about a year ago. And that's how we figured out really what was going on with me, because I went into anaphylaxis, and my blood work has been showing that I'm just like hanging out below anaphylaxis on a normal day. So like I was experiencing that for several years, and I didn't realize what was going on with me. And now that I'm having the proper medication and stuff, I'm doing a lot better, and I'm just now starting to like have actual thoughts again. It's weird because histamine affects so much of your body. It's in your brain. Like it was just really like I was shutting down, and I don't know how to say it, but it affects everything in your body. And histamine also really brings up your inflammation in your body. So I'm always in pain. I've had like this everlasting, lovely pain that I get to deal with. So I've been wearing a back brace when I paint, and I have to do that. And because I can't really sit or stand in the same position for hours on end. So I'm not working as much as I want to, but things are getting a little better now because it's winter, and there's less allergens in the air. There's no pollen and all that nonsense going on. And I can remember the past several years, I kept thinking I was doing all of my best work in the winter. And I remember being in the summertime making all these things that I just threw on the burn pile. And So I kept thinking, well, maybe I'll do a good painting this winter. And so now I finally figured out what that was all about. But so anyway, I'm getting by and things are getting a lot better, and it's just been a heck of a time. But I'm really grateful that I just at least figured out what was happening to me, so I could get on the right path to making that better. But
Yeah.
Do they know what causes this? Was like a catalyst for this to happen? Because it sounds like it's been going on for a while, but you haven't experienced this your entire life, right?
Well, actually, yes, I have. I've always been very hypersensitive to medications, to foods. Like, I have to eat this ridiculous restricted diet, which is awful because we're not going to restaurants anymore. And I kind of like that because I would go to a restaurant and I'd be like the asshole that wants to know like what every ingredient is in every item in the menu because I can only eat this or that. So yeah, I was one of those people. But so I've always had sensitivities, and I even had a sensitivity to oil paints, and I started painting with oil. Like, I've always done acrylic, but I started painting with oil in 2016, and I recently had to stop again and I got rid of everything, and now I'm back with acrylic, which is fine, but I can't do it. It's just too many toxins and fumes that my body can't handle. But I think back to your question, I'm getting off track here. Last year, it really amped itself up, and it happened like right after this flu that I had. So I think the virus that I had just kind of wrecked shop in my body, and then like my histamine just went crazy, and it's supposed to go back to normal, or it's going to take some time, they say, but it's supposed to like hit a better baseline eventually. But I'm still tapping my fingers and waiting for that. And they really don't have a lot of medications. Like there's like 4 histamine receptors, and they refer to them as H1, 2, 3, and 4. And H1 is what affects like your, when your eyes water and your nose waters, your eyes bleed, like that kind of pollen-related type sensitivity, that kind of thing, or you're itchy. And then there's H2, which is the digestive system. And so you take like your Prilosec and things like that. Oh, H1 would be your Allegras and things, that medications that take care of that. But then there's H3 and 4. 3 is your brain and your nervous system that's affected. And that was like a big component for me, where I wasn't doing the work that I wanted to do. And I really just felt so brain dead, and I couldn't think of anything I couldn't even have ideas anymore of what I wanted to paint. And I was just going through the motions of painting something, anything, but I had no feeling anymore. It was just like my brain was numb for the past few years. That's when I started painting all the portraits, and there's less of a narrative, and I wasn't really telling stories anymore. But the problem with that is there is no H3 medication to help your brain except for Benadryl. And Benadryl, it covers like H1 through 4, and that's the only one. But the problem with taking Benadryl every day, which I am taking, is that it can cause dementia. And I don't want that to happen. But my husband's like, oh, you won't live long enough to get dementia.
Oh my God. Thanks, babe.
So I don't know, but he's hilarious. But anyway, that's the whole riveting story of histamine. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
That's crazy. And I'm sorry that you're dealing with that and have for a while. I can't even imagine. But you're still working and pushing through, even though you're suffering and pain and other symptoms. Like, have you been to a naturopath to help your immune system via natural, either herbs or some other thing?
Yeah. And once I figured out what was wrong with me, it became almost a full-time job for me to totally just like spear this thing down. I felt like I was going to medical school, and I was like, I'm getting rid of this. I was fighting so hard to get it to just go. And I've tried literally everything that I can. And I've tried different drugs and stuff that are supposed to help, and they don't, or they make it worse. And so I've gone through a lot just to try. And so I've spent so much time in the past year just focusing on that. And I think, though, I found the best combination for me, medication, food-wise, and all that, to not go through a flare-up. But that involves Benadryl, which can cause dementia. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll make interesting paintings if I have dementia.
I can appreciate your sense of humor. I mean, I can't imagine being in that particular position, and painting is part of the fabric of who you are, and not being able to do that on a regular basis, I can't imagine, or pushing through that pain. And everybody has their own thing, right? But that seems, I admire that. Good for you I think that's monumental that you continue to push through to do this work. And it's not, you're not just, it's such amazing work. I mean, immediately when I emailed Wes and we had a conversation about it, he was like, wow, this is extraordinary. And that's why you're on this podcast, is because it really stands out. So to continue to do this work and push through that pain, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Gosh, thank you guys. That's just really sweet. Like, I don't know. I guess I've always felt kind of guilty if I'm not working when it's supposed to be. Even if I'm sitting there with a headache, pounding, blinding headache, I'm like, get to work. But I've always kind of pushed myself probably too hard, but I don't know. Maybe that goes back to the way we were raised. And my family, my mom particularly, and she was a painter. She used to paint these. And so I grew up seeing her, so it was certainly influential, but I would see her paint kind of like these small, hyper realistic things in nature, like a mushroom even, or something like that. And so I saw her doing that, and I'm sure that affected me, and I just started drawing a lot as a kid. And I mean, there wasn't much else to do, and I was always just kind of walking off into the woods and taking in everything around me. But one of my earliest memories, it was very isolated where we grew up. And so I have a twin sister, an older brother, and my parents, and that was just us, and very isolated. We did go to public school, but there was a family friend that lived nearby, and we were at their house one night. I remember it was summer and it was night, and I don't know, I must have been 3 or 4. And I was sitting on their porch, and the daughter, I guess she had been in her teens or 20s, wanted to draw me. And she got the sketchbook out and got some pencils out. And I can remember it was just indescribable, the feeling that I had. But I remember thinking, I'm looking at my life. I'm looking at my future. It was just like I understood then that was what I was going to do, even as a toddler. Like, it was just, that's when it all started, I guess. It was pretty crazy. So I just started drawing then, and because I was so taken aback by the whole thing, I guess. And that's when I started really doing that. And then I would also write stories and illustrate the stories as a child too. So mom kept a few of those. that I still have, and they're pretty ridiculous, but at least I was doing something creative, I guess.
That's awesome.
Do you continue to write to this day?
I do from time to time. Like, it'll strike me one day and I'm like, oh, I gotta get this out, and then I'll write whatever down. But I do have a bunch of sketchbooks that there's more writing in it than drawing, really. And they're just all so scattered. Like, there's no dates. And I'll pick one and draw or write in that, and then the next day I'll pick another one and write in that one. And they're all like half filled, and they're just so disorganized, and I feel kind of ridiculous like that. But so that's where a lot of the writing will go down. But there's nothing really to complete. It's just kind of snippets of thoughts here and there. So
are these narratives for the paintings that you do?
yes, they can be. Sometimes they aren't. I will write a little something that might end up in a painting, if that makes sense. And some of them don't. Or if I get an idea, I'll write down exactly what I want it to look like and how I'm going to go about making that happen on the canvas. So there'll be things like that in it too. And then a couple sketches. But yeah.
So this is actually, I mean, it sounds like it's integral to your process of creating. It definitely feeds into it.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like I do one painting after the next, and I kind of just sit down and toss around ideas for a few days while writing in these notebooks and, doing some research about this or that idea. And then that's when a painting really starts, is just by thinking about it for a day or two and mulling it all over before I even start. So like there's that part that I'm doing that with the sketchbooks. Then I just try to achieve what it is in my mind that I'm seeing, which is always impossible. So I just do the best I can. And it's crazy because a lot of paintings that I start aren't finished, or I paint over them, or I just like throw them away because I don't want that to be out in the world. And I'm just not happy with it because I don't know. Maybe my standards are too high. But I feel like I'm never going to achieve what I want to. It's like,
that's a sign. That's a sign of a true artist, I think, is when you completely aspire the entire time to become better. Like you never feel like you and I feel like art is a journey. It's not a destination, right? Like
right.
I think you create these masterpieces and you're a master at what you do. You probably, I don't know how you feel about that, but I can relate. I never feel like it's ever good enough. Or sometimes when I create, I totally hate it. I can't even look at it a lot of times. And then I have to step away from the work for a little bit, come back to it. And then I go, okay, well, there's good stuff here. I can accept this, but I know I can do better. Is that kind of the same kind of mindset that you have?
Right. That's exactly it. And I don't know that I ever really like anything that I've done because I'm just so critical and then self-critical. And like there's paintings that it's like on a scale of dislike more. So like, you really dislike this one or just kind of dislike this one. And the ones that you kind of dislike go to the galleries. But in a way, I like them, of course. But there aren't any paintings that I get too attached to, I guess, because I don't recognize achieving anything in any of my works. This sounds so negative, I know, but so you can't recognize it. You're like, oh, I wanted to do that, and I did it. It's like you'll never see that you actually did it. Like, the only thing I'm thinking is how can I do this better all the time? It's ridiculous, but that's how my brain is. So I don't know.
I think that's pretty common though. I mean, I even like I told you before we started recording, I'm a photographer, and there's days that I was like, I don't even know why I do this, because I suck at it and nothing says anything. And why am I doing this? I should just sell my stuff and focus on something else, and then like Todd said, you'll come back to it and you're like, well, that isn't too bad. Or you'll see somebody else's stuff and you're like, well, I'm better than that. But there's always somebody that you look at and you're like, oh my God, I haven't even scratched the surface as being as good as they are, So, I mean, I think it's that negative talk is pretty common amongst everybody. We all hear it. So you're no different.
Right. Exactly. I mean, we're probably all like that, but the thing we just got to think about is, am I getting out what I want to get out? Am I creating something that is what I wanted to say about this or that, and just make your painting and move on. Just stop crucifying the thing, It's just, I don't know. It can be tough though. I guess that's just how our brains function. So
yeah, I think it's true. I think the average person has a lot of negative self-talk, and we just have to get beyond it,
Right. We're too self-conscious, but that's, I think that's a trait in making art though. It really is, but there's nothing we can do about it. So that's just who we are.
Right. Well, God forbid the person that paints his first painting goes, oh my God, that is awesome, and I can't do any better, and then walks away. So the one hit wonder. We have that music a lot.
I might want to be that guy.
I know our listeners. What's that?
It'll take the pressure off.
Yeah. I know our listeners will agree. Your work is absolutely phenomenal. I really like when Todd sent me the link and I clicked on it. I was blown away by your work, and you can tell there is a narrative going on and the story. And I want to talk about one piece, and I'm sure you'll remember it. It's called Promise to the Wild Unknown. Do you remember that one with the woman at the piano?
Oh, yeah.
And the wolves or coyotes?
Coyotes. I've been living where I am now for about a year and a half, and it's a major blessing that we border this big park that's wooded. It's completely wooded, and there's hardly ever anybody in there. And so this is my sanctuary. I go there. I walk about 2 or 3 miles a day. And while I'm walking, I'm actually working in a way, because it's all those thoughts are turning around in my head about how much I love it and just how much that has to be part of my work, my upcoming work. And so that's part of what I'm doing right now. But prior to living here, we actually bordered, and this was in the suburbs of Richmond, we bordered a 400-acre, it was like a buffer from a juvenile prison to the suburb. And we backed up to this wooded 400-acre thing with the prison in the center of it. And so everybody in the neighborhood was using it as their own personal park. The only problem was it's like this island in the middle of the city of this woodland sanctuary, and there's all these coyotes in there just raising hell all the time. They chased my dog once. I had her off leash, and they chased her, and they popped over the hill and saw me, and there were 3 of them. They saw me because she came running back to me, and they were screaming and carrying on, and it was kind of horrifying. And then another time, there were 2 of them that kind of charged me like a bear would almost. Like and I thought they got very close to me. I thought they were going to attack me. And I found out later that I was near a deer kill that they had. I walked up on like the deer that they had taken down. And so it was they fascinated me because I saw them so much. And I also have a game camera that I use to pick up wildlife just to see what's lurking. So, and I got so many pictures of coyotes. They're just kind of fascinating creatures. So yeah, long way to say yes, coyote. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. You got this young lady at a piano, obviously out in the woods. There's two coyotes, and then there's it looks like a domestic dog. Is that that's being submissive or forced to be submissive? Can you kind of tell the story about that, the narrative?
Yeah, that one is, I have a stepdaughter. She's 18 now. And at the time of painting that, she was about, I want to say 12, 13, no, 14-ish, somewhere in there. And that's not actually her. That's the model in the painting. The young woman in the painting is a girl that actually lived in my neighborhood. She's a real sweet person. And so I asked her to model for me, but it was about my stepdaughter and being at that age and how kind of horrifying it is to go into the world as a young person. And when I titled it Promise to the Wild Unknown, I was meaning that you have no idea like what's going to happen in your life. It's just going to be this wild, unknown adventure. And there's going to be hard things and easy things. And it was kind of just my thought about how much she had ahead of her. And so that was the idea, my personal idea behind that painting. I don't want my ideas to be kind of spoon-fed to people. I want people to take with them what they want and make their own narratives out of my paintings. But to me, that's where it came from, that particular painting.
What's the metaphor of the coyotes? Just the wild
and
predatory?
Yeah. Yes. And they're like the hard things that you might have to go through, symbolic of that. But you remember what it's like being a teenager? Like, it's so awful. It was just kind of that great unknown is ahead of her. And I was just thinking about all that and how it's hard to be a teenager anyway. And so, yeah.
Is there a metaphor for the submissive dog?
I guess not particularly. Maybe that's just to reiterate the tough times.
Yeah.
Like, you might be down on the ground and there's nothing you can do about it sometimes.
A comment real quick. I love this one. This one, I don't know why I was looking at a lot of, and this one, when I land, I think it's because of the coyotes and the submissiveness of the domestic dog, the piano being out of place. But I really was drawn to this. I think it's just a fantastic piece. And then you kind of answer my question, but we interviewed Ron Hicks, who does a lot of figure painting. And he basically said he doesn't use models, that all his subjects are composites or completely imagined. Do you use models extensively, or do you make composites of your characters?
Historically, yes, I've always used a model, and that is something that I want to get away from also. And like, I have all these plans and goals now about what I'm going to paint next, because now that I'm on these antihistamines, I can actually think actual thoughts. So it's great. And I'm planning all these new paintings, and I'm excited about it again. But I want to focus more on the land and the natural world, but still have humans, but they're going to be kind of secondary to the landscape. And so when I do things like that, I can sort of draw them from my head. Like, if it's not a lot of detail for the human, I can do it more that way, which I've done before in a couple of paintings, but I can't bring one up now that I can think of. So,
Yeah. No.
Are you pretty curious about human nature and humans in general?
I am. Like, I think I said before, like, I'm kind of like, I'm in this phase where I just feel bad to be a human. It's like, I don't know. I find their stories fascinating. That's what I love about humans. And That's a great thing. And I really just want to look at human compared to the natural world and the land right now. I'm kind of pulling away from that a little bit. But yeah, I definitely spent the past 10 years with human themes and human stories. And now I kind of want to go more into the natural and almost like animal fables and things of that nature.
So you really like the relationship of how humans perceive the natural world? Because I feel like I can appreciate landscape photography or landscape painting, but to me, it's about how we fit into that landscape. Because without us in that experience, and that's what I'm curious about, the natural world would continue to exist, but I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious how other creatures perceive the natural world, if they appreciate it the way humans do and have those kind of thoughts. You know what I mean?
Right. And I kind of want to look at it. I want to flip it now and look at it as if I was a wild animal. What would I think of what's happening around me because of humans? Or what would it even be like to be a wild animal? It's like I'm so envious of the land. And sometimes when I'm walking, I'll see this particularly beautiful spot and I fantasize about just laying down and just staying there until I turn to dirt and like the earth drinks me and trees grow through me and I just become part of the land. Like, I feel like that would be fabulous. But then I'm like, I gotta take care of the dog and do the dishes. So I don't know. Is that weird?
No, I think that is really beautiful. That's and obviously you work on some other plane thought plane. I can totally appreciate it. Would you consider yourself an empath? Do you feel things pretty strongly?
Definitely. I've a problem with that. My sister-in-law even told me, like, you have got to stop caring about people so much. I was like, the stories are so sad. Like, I get really wiped out by some things. And, like, my best friend sent me this photograph this morning about the pandemic in 1918, and this dog had a mask on, and supposedly they thought that the animals could pass it too. So evidently they went around killing all these stray animals, dogs and cats and things back then. And like, I just started sobbing and I'm just like, don't send me this crap. I can't handle it. Like, it's just like, stop it. Anyway, so yeah, it's almost too much. Like, I can't. But that's kind of good too, because when I was having harder histamine issues, like it wasn't so much. Like, I really just felt brain dead. It was like I was just kind of going through the motions on autopilot through life, and I wouldn't have got upset about it back then. It's like I just stopped caring. It was the weirdest thing. I hate histamine's awful. I don't know why we have to have it. I guess we do.
Yeah, you can tell you're a very empathetic person. So, and I'm the same way. I'm pretty sappy when it comes to certain things. So, seeing things like, especially animals. So I just get really like big hearted about things like that. And I was joking with my boss is a hunter. And there was a story about something, and I was just like, "Oh my God, I think I'm like way too sensitive to this. I think I should go out and kill something," because I just like I'm like way too sensitive to, like, if I see another like puppy that's been abused, I just lose myself, And there's a lot of those kind of videos on YouTube and that kind of stuff, and it's just like it's heart wrenching.
That just triggered a memory of when we were kids. My dad had shot a deer, which is justifiable because we were kind of hungry people, but he shot a deer. And I remember we all like went out and we had to track it, but we all found it, and we were all together, and we found it, and it was a buck. He had antlers and everything, but he was dead. And I just remember looking down at it, and my brother goes, "That's Bambi's dad."
Typical boy. Oh my God.
I was like, what's wrong with you? Ah. So, yeah.
Oh my God.
That's pretty funny. My brother cracks me up. He's a crazy guy. He's an architect. We have a lot of architects in our family, and I've also loved to put architecture in my paintings. And like, I was a terrible student. I went to Radford University. It's in Southwest Virginia, but it's a great school. I was in undergraduate school, though. I was a horrible student because if it wasn't salient to art or the arts or literature, then I was checked out. And, if I needed a D to pass that class, then by God, I was getting that D. So, but if it wasn't relative to art, I just did pretty poorly. But then the art history I loved. Like my undergraduate degree, I got in drawing and art history, and then my graduate degree was in painting and art history. It was like a double degree, and I can remember, I did way better in graduate school. I actually got this was surprising, but I got the graduate thesis award for that year. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh. I always thought of, like, my twin sister is really intelligent, and she was the valedictorian of our high school, and she went to vet school. She got early admission to vet school, and now she's a veterinarian for the CDC. So, like, I've had to compete with her in a way my whole life. So when I did that, when I got the thesis award, I thought maybe, like, that was one time when I recognized that I actually achieved something. I was like, I'm just like my sister.
You're very humble because you also graduated summa cum laude, correct?
Yeah. But yeah, it was a disaster. Statistics and things like that, like, I can't even begin to grasp that. And I remember recently I asked my brother, I was like, what's 10 times 10? And he, like, turned away mumbling, like, Jesus. I'm so bad. It just does not work. The brain and the sciences. But anyway.
Do you ever sit back and are you amazed this path that you've taken, that you were able to be blessed with this life that you've had and creating?
Oh yeah, it's almost like something that I audibly thank the world for every day. Like, I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to be able to do this. And when I graduated grad school, with my master's, there wasn't any other option for me. That was all I was going to do, and nothing else made sense to me to do. So I just started to do it. But it was just like this really panic-inducing time for me, because you're just so alone in it, for starters, and you don't know what to do. And it's not just like putting the brush to the canvas. There are so many other aspects, and it's owning a small business, and it's just like all this business stuff you have to learn, and it's just so hard. And it's just, there's so much more to it than brush strokes. It's like this whole miserable business side that nobody likes to do, like the marketing and the bookkeeping and the taxes, and like, I have to figure out how to be a good photographer, to take pictures of the work, or to take reference photos to work from. Like, it's just so hard. There's so many things you have to learn, and that can all just be tricky. So,
what kind of things do you do to promote and market?
I used to do a whole lot of contacting different outlets where I could put my work, like magazines, or try to get an interview done about my work, or entering competitions and things of that nature. And so I used to push pretty hard with that. And then I don't know if I got tired or what, but it was when I was sicker. I just kind of stopped. I let that go by the wayside because I, was really lethargic and just blah. And that was just like another thing that I would have to do that wasn't painting. And I was struggling just to get painting done. So I just dropped the ball pretty hard on that. And I haven't really picked it back up, but that's something that I am going to do when I get everything back together, and I will get it back together. So, I don't know.
But you've initiated these things to help further your art career. How important were those competitions?
Well, I think it helps to have that on your resume that you won this or that award. They're really hard, though. Like, I think I only would win maybe like 5% of what I applied to, because the competition is just steep out there, and it's hard, and it's a lot of work. And I don't know. It's just good to have that feather in your cap, I guess. But it's tough. There's so many good artists out there. So many good artists. I just love what's happening. And I try to also not look at it because I don't want to be influenced. I get so influenced by some painting that I love or some artist that just really grabs my attention. And I'm so scared to want to try that, wow, look at that. I want to do that. And so if I do that, I'm not really being myself anymore. And I don't think the work's honest anymore. And so I try to avoid that. But I also just love looking at the work that's being done today. One of my favorites is Amy Bennett. Have you heard of her?
I had not.
Think so. I don't believe so.
She makes these dioramas. She constructs, it's kind of like a suburban neighborhood type theme. I mean, that is what it is, a neighborhood thing. But there's these dark stories in them. And she constructs these dioramas of the people inside the house. I guess they're like little clay people that she molds and builds the actual structure. And they're doing this or that in the house. And then she adjusts lighting and makes like these powerful decisions about lighting coming in the window of the house and everything. And then she'll photograph that and paint from the photograph. It's just stunning work. And one of my favorite ones is you're looking down. It's like an aerial view into the house. And there's this woman stretched out on a bed, kind of like in a snow angel pose. And then there's a man next door at the house next door, and he's laying on the ground and he's in the same pose. And she called it coincidence. That's the best thing ever. Oh no. It's
That's
just
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love her work.
So who was an early influence when you were, let's say, when you were in art school or whatever?
My favorite, I would say, is Caspar David Friedrich. He has like these vast and lonesome landscapes, and I love that kind of thing. And it's like a gothic quality to his work, and he's like withdrawn from the world kind of person. And he wasn't one to really participate in society, and I kind of like that about him. It's like almost like becoming as animal idea that I like about humans being more like animals. Like we are animals, but we're not really because we walk around wearing plastic and things. Like, it's just so weird. Like,
right.
Just the weirdest creatures. But anyway, he was really neat because he was like a hermit and he didn't have anything in his studio and it was completely bare. And he would even hide away his paints because, I don't know, maybe he was ADHD, but he said that it was really distracting. So he would just, there was nothing on his walls. I think that's really cool. There's just nothing in there. And so I just love his work so much. It just really hits me. He's an ultimate favorite. Other than him, there's like Goya that I love and like certain pieces that I love versus an actual artist that, like, I can remember in grad school, it was in my Baroque history class. There was a painting, Artemisia Gentileschi's painting of Judith slaying Holofernes pops up. And it's like, she's like cutting his head off with a sword. And there's all this blood and it's hyper realistic. And it's like water falling down the side of the bed. And it's like in my face. And I think I had a panic attack. And then I was like, yeah, this is what I want. So there are a few paintings that stick with me like that. And I love also the unicorn tapestries, the medieval, from the 1500s, I think they were done. But I love that because it's this narrative. I think they're in New York now. And I haven't seen them and I want to see them pretty badly. But I think there's 7 of them. So it's like 7 tapestries around the room and it tells this narrative about hunting a unicorn. And so there's these hunters and hounds like chasing the unicorn in the first panel and it goes on. And I think they're about 12 by 12 feet. They're big, big tapestries, but it goes on and they're tracking the unicorn. They spear it and they kind of injure it. But they don't kill it yet. And they take it and use its horn to purify their water source. And then they kill it. And they drag it home to whatever castle and overlord to be like, this is our unicorn, we call it. And it's just another thing. It's like another, I guess it's another heart-wrenching kind of idea about the savagery of being human that appeals to me about that piece of art. But it's also just really beautifully done. And oh yeah, a thing that I really love about that too is there's 100-some different plant species in all 7 of the tapestries. And they grow those plants at the cloisters in New York where they have them hanging. So like in the garden outside of the cloisters, I guess, they have the 100 different plant species that are in the tapestries, which I think is really neat. I really want to go see that someday, but I don't really like going to New York City, but I guess I'll make an exception.
It seems like you work very much stream of consciousness. Do you feel like this work that you do, you just kind of channel it? I mean, there's obviously thought behind it, but at the same time, it feels like it's just so much like these pieces given to you and then you just embody it and make it happen.
Yeah, it's hard to say where they come from. It's just these ideas just spring up in my mind and I don't know. It's hard to say. And I just kind of go with them. But I always want to work from what is within me and combine that with influences of other things. Like I love, novels or things about a certain novel that I read that I want to try to do something with that, or songs even. And like I was saying, I want to look into the fables now and the old folklore. And so it's kind of like what can I take from narratives that have been told or narratives that I can understand and have an emotion or have a connection to that will make me follow through with this painting. Because sometimes if I do a painting that I'm not emotionally invested in any way, then I will only get a quarter of the halfway through before I stop doing it. Because and every time I just can't do it. I just can't. I can force myself to do it, but that's not going to be good probably.
So what do you do on those days where, I mean, you have a very strong work ethic. You definitely sound like you have a routine, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But what do you do on those days where you're not necessarily inspired?
I hate those days. Those days are tough because I don't know. I have this just strange, like, animalistic drive in my head to be creating. And if I don't have something like a proper painting that I set out to do and finish and achieve, if I'm not on track to have anything or I don't have any ideas, then a lot of times I'll spend time either on the business thing or doing whatever things like that I'd have to catch up on. Or I will paint these small little studies that I just mess around with. Like I'll paint a leaf, I don't know, and see how that goes. But I won't spend a lot of time on it. It'll be something I do in under a couple of hours. So it's not like something I have to stay focused on for too long, you know, because I don't know if I have a problem focusing or what, but after about 3 weeks or a month of working on the same painting, I'm just completely over it. I'm just like, get this thing out of my face. And I don't like that because I wish I could just do some kind of like massive mural almost of just with this big complicated story going on. But I don't think I could focus for that long. It's just like I lose all my momentum. I don't know why.
How large are your typical paintings?
No, they're not really. There's a few that are quite big, yeah, about that size, which I would think is big, is 30, 40. But I tend to hover around the 16 by 20, 18 by 24 area. And then like the studies I'll do will be pretty small, like 8 by 10-ish. But I don't want to get too large because of that problem I have with sticking with it. I wish I could figure that one out and work on it because it's kind of a dream to make this huge painting one day. But I don't know if I can do that. It might not be in my DNA, so I don't know.
Do you sell your studies, the little ones, or do they end up in the burn pile?
No, I do. Every now and again on Facebook, I'll say, hey, these are for sale if you want them. They'll pile up, and then I'll take pictures of them and try to sell them. And I usually get rid of most of them. So that's good. I really appreciate like the support I get from people that purchase the work. And it makes me happy that they can have something that they want and will make them happy. So I don't know, that part's nice. But
yeah, we have two artists that we've interviewed, Michael Unteed and Bob Ragland, that do these small ones. Michael Unteed calls them Little Charlies after Charles Russell. He'll just keep doing these, and then when he decides he needs a little extra cash, he'll do an auction, and they'll start off at I think $100 or $300, and then they'll go up from there, and then it's just auction off. And Bob Ragland, if you want to buy one of his for $100, he'll let you go rummage through it and all his minis, and then he'll sell those. So it's kind of nice that. And then Michael Unteed said he'll start with a study, a small one, and then he recreates that study until he gets to the bigger size, just, you know, working it out. And then he'll do a bigger one and then a bigger one and then his final. And he just sells originals, no prints. But I thought that was kind of an interesting concept.
yeah, that is. And that's a testament to his focus too. Like the people that do the studies of, they'll do several before they do the actual painting. I could never ever do that. I just would lose it. I would lose. It's like I care about something, and then by the time I'm halfway through it, I don't know. I couldn't do it, but that's great. And I like the idea of an auction. Sometimes or quite often, I'll give paintings. I'll donate them for different causes. People have auctions for things. So instead of burning some of the ones that I don't like as much, I'll donate them. But it's okay if they're out there, because that's all part of, your growth. Like, you might as well show it, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the journey, right?
Right, exactly. So, yeah.
You spoke earlier about your formal education. What made you decide to pursue a master's?
I think it was that panicky. It was a savior of the panic I was going through at the time. I was like, I wasn't ready to do it. I wasn't ready to leap into a career like that, because I knew that's what I would do regardless, but it was too scary at the time. And so I decided to just take on more student debt and go back to school for a while. And so that's what it was. And that was it's such a hard career. Like, it's hard to understand, I think, for other people. And I don't understand, other people's jobs either, but it's a toughie because you don't know if you're going to sink or swim all the time. It's just always up in the air, right? So there's just no certainty whatsoever, except for you're at least doing the thing that you want to do. Right? So to get to do that is fabulous. I just feel really blessed, and I don't want to squander this opportunity. Like, I have this right now where everything's working out that I can do this, and it's a lot easier because I have the financial support of my husband. There was a time when I did work without that, and it was extremely difficult because you didn't know what you were going to end up with money-wise. And it was just it was just tough. It was so tough. And so I don't want to squander this opportunity that I have right now. And that's why I want to work a lot, because if you're not working, you're not learning anything. And I want to try to explore every avenue that I can about the painting. I want to try different things, and I want to try to get this or that to work. And so it's just the only way you can do that is to sit in the chair and get in front of the easel. So that's what I'm trying to do more than anything, is just to do it,
Yeah.
Do you worry about time? I know you explore the theme of time in your paintings, but do you worry about the clock is ticking?
Yeah, I'm trying to not do that anymore, because that's just going to stress me out even more.
Yeah, lately I've been the same boat. I've been thinking of you all of a sudden you come to the realization that, you're no spring chicken, and time is slipping away. And my mom turned 80, and I think that was a realization because she had a really bad attitude about it, or has a bad attitude about it. But I asked her how she likes being 80, and she says it sucks. So, but anyway, but it does kind of open your eyes. It's like you said, you got to produce while you're, you still can. And sometimes I get a little down about it, because it's just like, oh shit, time's running out, and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. So
exactly.
at least you kind of figured out, at least when you were 4, I know what I'm going to do. I'm still searching. So you're ahead. You win.
Oh, Lord. Well, that doesn't really make anything better for me, I don't think. Like, I'm kind of it's like self-flagellation, like being an artist. Oh my gosh. Smart. Maybe I'd be better off not knowing what I wanted to do. But you're doing something you want to do right now, though.
Yeah,
right?
This is it. I love doing these podcasts and learning about you and other artists. So yeah, I am doing something I love. So, and it's fun.
Yeah, and I wish I had both of your knowledge about photography. I'm just it's a big part of making art for me, and I'm not good at it, and I'm just like, if I knew how to take a better picture, I could make a better painting, because I can't. So it's really frustrating, but I can't completely work from my mind, so I have to rely on some image sources, which are my own. So I'm out here taking like these really crappy pictures that tell me nothing. Maybe I just need to go sit in nature and paint plein air.
There you go.
I don't know. I think you see light really well. And so whatever you're doing with your photography, I think you're doing just fine. I mean, it's phenomenal work that you're doing. You paint light really well, and you definitely can paint the figure really well. And then you're layering, all the symbolism in these paintings. So you have this narrative. So it seems to me like you have all the pieces of the puzzle. I know that it's a constant exploration, and, you get drawn into other subject matter or exploring other narratives, but I think you're doing it really well. So you utilize models sometimes, and so you photograph these models.
Right. I'll sort of set the stage and arrange them how I want them to be, and try to make the lighting nice. That is a toughie, because I can never get the camera. Like, I can set up a model, and the lighting, the way it will fall across their face and create this and that shadow, it'll be perfect. But when I go to take a picture of it, I can't capture what I'm seeing at all. Like, it's so frustrating to me, because I don't understand cameras, and that's math, kind of, and I don't do math. Like, I just don't do math. I would like to do math, but my brain does not work like that. So I don't know. It's tough.
Well, there's always hope, because I think you just need the right person to explain it in a way that your brain works, right? I mean, everybody's brain works differently, and people learn differently. Our assumption is that because we can't grasp it immediately, there must be some kind of brain malfunction, right? Or like, you just don't get it. Like, what the heck's wrong with me, right? But I think it boils down to just having the right person explain it in a way that you can understand, or be able to explain it in multiple ways so that one of those resonates with you. I was the same way when I first started photography. I did not understand the math part of it. It was very confusing, and I thought, there's no way that I'm ever going to get a handle on this. But eventually I did, and it was because I had professors that were able to explain it in a way that my visual mind works. Okay. It wasn't until I went to art school, of all places, that I finally had a handle on some, what most people probably say, call basic math, because that was never my forte. But I had an algebra teacher that was just rocking it when I was in art school, of all places, because in order for them to be accredited, you had to have so many core curriculum classes. And he was always able to explain it in a way that it made sense, like in a real world scenario. So it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s that I finally had a handle on algebra for the first time in my life. It wasn't just some guy in a classroom reading out of a book and writing equations on the chalkboard or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's hurtful, but I've just been blaming the camera for the past
Well,
couple years.
whatever you need to do. But I will assure you that whatever you are doing, it is working in your favor. So I wouldn't get too hung up on it.
Well, thank you, but I really do. Like, there's so much beautiful light you can capture, and I really haven't done what I want to do yet with that. And like I said before, even if I did do it, I probably wouldn't recognize it as a win. I'd be like, I don't know, upset with myself, of course. But yeah, I've just been kind of like, this damn camera, I tell you, the technology these days is through the roof. You think that they'd make a camera that would actually take a picture of what I see. It's not the camera at all. I have a great camera. I just need to learn how to use it. So
There you go.
That's where I am.
You use a dark palette in your paintings, and I really love that. And I think the light that you do use, because it really accentuates the figure. And I think it's because, the dark palette that you use.
Thank you.
That's what drew me to your work as well. Like when I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw your profile picture, that dark palette that Wes is explaining, it resonated with me.
Thanks so much. I love darker themes by nature, I guess. And I love like spooky feel to things and kind of otherworldly, foggy type situation. So I don't know. I'm just drawn to that. So that's why I do that. But I know people have always wanted me to use more color, and I feel like that's really hard for me. And I'm trying, because color is also light. So I'm trying to just do a little bit of color here and there because I don't want it to be too dull, but I don't also want it to be screaming at you. So that's something I'm working on too, is just to put a little more color and a little more luminosity to the painting. I'm working on a painting right now called The Bear That Swallows Me. And it's about that. To me, I mean, I don't want it to be, I want people, when they see my work, to kind of invent their own stories and take it wherever they want to. But anyway, I'm working on this painting with a bear, and there's like a woods scene, and it's like a light is coming down from above me. Like, I use myself as a model because in the pandemic, we're kind of running out of there's no good visiting hours right now. So I've been using myself and my stepdaughter and my husband this whole time. But so there's this light kind of beaming down, and then there's these really darker parts to it behind the model and in front of the model. And the bear is in front, and it's dark. But I'm just really struggling to make the bear light enough to be completely legible and make sense. But at the same time, it has to be darker to not pull your eye away from the focal point too much. And it's just been a real struggle. And I'm at that point where I'm over it. And I just want to I don't know. I reached this point where I'm like, this has to end now, or it's going out in the burn pile. That's where I am right now. And I spent an entire, I thought Friday for sure I would be done, but I spent the entirety of Friday painting over things. And all right, so maybe Monday, right?
There's always Monday.
Yeah, but I am trying to make it an overall dark painting, but there also has to be light. So I'm really struggling with the dark and the light in that one. So, because you can't just black it all out. I'm just going to start painting black paintings, solid black. Done.
when you work, are you really focusing in on this one piece, or do you have multiple pieces going on at a time?
I used to have a couple going at once when I use oil because of the drying time, but I really don't like that. And so I love acrylic for that it's going to dry within an hour or two. It'll be completely dry. You can like pass your hand over it. You don't need a mall stick to not touch it and not smear it. You can just shove your hand on there if you want. Like, you don't have to be all dainty around it, but it dries quickly. So I love that. So I really need to just focus on one painting at a time, because otherwise the more time that passes during a painting, the more I start to pull away or detach from the whole thing. And that's when they fail, because I don't have any more sort of emotional attachment to it anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like I have to keep reining in the feeling, and because of the catalyst that makes it happen, right, is to have some kind of feeling about it. Otherwise, it's really hard for me. Like, it's hard for me to do commission paintings, portraits, and things like that, because I don't know anything about what I'm doing, really. So it just feels like confusion.
I saw a dog that you had painted as a commission. And I loved it. It's a phenomenal piece. I think I saw that on your Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. It's just, yeah, it's I loved it. You said that you don't really like to do commissions because it's difficult, because it's not, I guess because it's not your inner voice channeling the work. But I think this piece, does it have a name? I don't know. It's on the Instagram page, and it's just amazing.
Oh, that's Captain.
Yeah, Captain. And and then they have these little, what is this, like a ribbon with a couple little cats that are buttons or medals.
Right.
I think it's whimsical, and it just, I don't know. It's amazing.
Thank you. And that's all the man that commissioned it. A lot of this was his idea, and I just loved it. I was right on board with him about everything, because one, I love medieval art, and he wanted to do something with that kind of feel and like make it like an icon. And I was right there with him. Also, my own dog looks very similar to Captain, and so I just was thinking of my dog the whole time, basically. Although I did meet Captain, and he's a real sweetheart. I love him. But I met him and took pictures of him for this. And but he looks so much like the dog that I have now. And so there was the emotional attachment to it. And it was just, he got it done for his wife, her 40th birthday. And the cats, they had a home invasion. They live in Richmond, and they had a home invasion. And they just had the two cats at the time, I guess. But it was two guys that came in with ski masks and everything, which probably was extremely terrifying. And afterwards, that's why they got the dog, was to help with protection. And I don't know. So he wanted me to put that part of the story about like the reason for getting the dog. So that's how I illustrated the cats with the ski masks and everything. Also, his father is a well-known artist in Virginia. He's John Barber, and his father, he paints seascapes and these like really complex ships and things, and it's realistic and just really well done, beautiful seascapes. But he got that frame for the painting before I even did the painting, and so I had to kind of work with the frame. I know you can't really see it, but it's like this thick, large, ornate gold frame that has, some intricate detail to it. And so I was trying to work with the frame at the same time. And I had the frame, so I was painting kind of like next to the frame to make sure that they went together well. But the whole thing was just really enjoyable. So that was like a fun commission that I actually had a great time with that one. I don't hate them all.
It is just stunning, and that is a pretty formidable frame that you had to work with. So
yeah,
I mean, so like you said, it's intricate and yeah, it's a serious frame. It's so regal. I just love it. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
There's another piece that I want to talk about since we're this piece here. I think it's called Swarm.
Mm-hmm.
And you used silver oil and silver leaf. That is so stunning.
Thank you.
And it's kind of a departure from some of your other work where, a lot of your work I see like, you get the sense of like dusk, right? On a
right.
gray day that you would see, in certain parts of the country or whatever, or at night. But this is very kind of light and ethereal. And I love all the different insects that are portrayed in this particular piece.
Thank you. Yeah, those are all insects of Virginia. So like every single one of them is one that you find in Virginia. I did it that way. I don't know why, but I did. But for Lovetts Gallery, which I have some work in, and it's in Tulsa, he wanted me to try a few silver leaf paintings, which I'd never done it. And, that's fine with me. I love exploring. So I did 3 or 4, I think, and sent them to him. And thankfully, they all sold immediately. And I was really grateful for that because, that doesn't always happen that way. So it was just really great. And the lady that bought this painting, he told me that she said she was going to design her entire kitchen around it, which I thought
wow
was a really good compliment. So it's like, oh my goodness, like I didn't expect that. So it was, that was kind of rewarding. But yeah, it is lighter and airier and kind of joyous almost, I feel like. And
yeah, it gives me chills looking at it, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. I have that kind of emotional response to it. It's stunning.
Yeah, she's a good friend of mine. She's gorgeous. She's stunning herself. And so I really wanted to get her eyes because she has these really light green eyes. And so she glanced up at the sky. She just happened to look up while I was taking pictures. And the light was even more intense when she looked up. So I'm really glad that she did that. And so I kept taking pictures of her looking up at the sky. We were outside. So anyway, that's that one.
I love... and maybe it's the photograph, but I don't think so. I love the gradation that you have going on from the left down to the right.
Yeah, that is the reflection off of the silver because it's going to change for what angle you look at it. Like it's reflective. So
it's cool. It's really cool. The way, I don't know. I'm amazed. I'm amazed the creativity and the imagination and putting all these pieces. I don't have that thing. So I'm always like blown away by the people that do. That your vision.
Oh, well, that means a lot to me. Thank you. It's so much work to get it to be how you picture it. That's the hard part because I can have this clear picture in my head of exactly what it should look like. But to visualize it and to actually do it to match that it's impossible. It's always impossible. It's like a goal that will never be achieved. So it's like kind of what it's like to paint every single painting. Not nice and sunny.
Have you always been drawn to the nighttime?
I have. I don't know why. I'm just like that. It's funny you should say that. It reminds me of once my sister and we were, I think, about 20-ish, and we both sat down and started painting something. Oh, we were visiting my parents, and for some reason my mom had like 2 pieces of wood, like plywood or something, to us and said, here, paint something on this or do something with it. So we sat down and we started painting, and we're fraternal twins. So we are like pretty different. We're not identical, but everybody still thinks of us as twins, and people think we look similar, but I don't really see it. The only thing that's the same is our voice is exactly the same. But anyway, we're doing these paintings and we finish, and my mom just comes over and looks at him. She's like, I should have called you two day and night. Mine was this real dark, moody thing, and she had this cheery, like orange and yellow and I don't know, bright colors. It was funny. I guess that's just how I am. I don't know where that comes from. So
you alluded to the mysteriousness of it. Is that what it is? The unknown?
Yeah, I do love that. And I love mystery, and I kind of wrestle internally with it because a huge part of me wants to know so badly about something. But then there's another part that's like, wouldn't it be better if I didn't know? And I could make up my own mind about it, I guess. I guess why I love mystery is that it's kind of endless possibility for answers. And we often don't ever get answers, right? Or if we do, we don't know if they're truthful about anything. So, and just, I don't know. It's definitely something that I love, mystery. So
I read somewhere where you were talking about you have these vivid dreams and how that kind of plays into your painting, like down to the last detail almost.
Yeah. It's only been a few times in my life that it's happened, but they're like, it's not that I'm painting for my dreams. It's more that it's like a classification of a dream. If you had to put them in categories, there's a dream where it's highly detailed, and I feel like I'm living it. Everybody's had those, but it's just like extra detailed. And I remember every single thing about it. And, but what I was talking about was that the thing that I dreamed about would actually happen a week or two later, and it would be down to, you know, all these details would be exactly like it was in my dream, and it just floors me when that happens. Like, I don't know why it happens, or I'm like, am I supposed to take something from this moment that I don't know why is this happening? I don't know, because it would be the most mundane things. It's nothing even important. And how would I dream about something that hasn't happened yet, but eventually does happen, and it's precisely like my dream? It's just crazy. But I haven't had that happen for a while. It's been probably 10 years now that it's happened to me, but it used to happen more in my youth. So I'm not sure what that's all about. It's just freaky. So that was part of my idea of like, how can your brain do something like that? Like, there's people that have premonition dreams, and it's a premonition dream, but how could your brain make it that detailed that you lived it in your dream before you actually lived it? The only thing I can think of is we live the same life over and over.
Mm. And you believe that we continually to come back here and...
No, I don't believe that, but that's a possibility, right? And that's like the great mystery of death. And like, to me, I don't have a belief one way or another of what happens to us when we die. The only thing I do believe is that, or I do not believe that when we die, that it's just over. There's plenty more to come, is my belief. I don't know what it is, though. And that's the great mystery of death. And I'm kind of death obsessed, actually, because it's that mystery and not the tragedy. I hate the tragedy. It's terrible. But, like, I mean, loss is awful. But the whole, I don't know. It's just like, what's over there? Kind of feeling. So, and I like to paint about that, too. And there's a quote by Mary Wollstonecraft that I can't remember it precisely, of course, but I really loved it because she said she looked at death. She couldn't help but look at death as like something getting free. And I really like that because I feel like life is tough and we kind of suffer more than we don't, right? And you know, maybe that is like a great thing for the person that dies. I don't know. It's just, that's another thing. Like, there's no answers. So it's just something to think about.
There's a lot of opinions, though, isn't there? There's a lot of people that have opinions about what happens in the afterlife, but, you know, we don't know, other than maybe the people that passed and then came back. But even then, you know. So
right. And there's a book that I love, Raymond Moody. Have you heard of him?
Name sounds familiar, but
I'm not familiar with him.
He's a neuroscientist and he studied near-death experiences, people that actually flatlined and then came back to life. And they all said the same things. Basically, after they died, they saw themselves like outside of their body, kind of floating above themselves, and they could hear and see everything that was going on in the room. And then they took off into this, like everybody's always talked about, like the tunnel and the light. And a lot of people saw their mothers, which I think is interesting, but I don't know. And then they would come back to their bodies, so it's fascinating.
Yeah. I think part of it is, you know, when we're dying, our brain is shooting off synapses.
Right.
So it's probably like these stored memories or whatever are going by, or, you know, so it's kind of interesting that way. But I've had deja vu experiences, kind of like I call them deja vu, where I've like experienced something and I'm like, man, I may not be able to, like, just in the moment, it feels like, oh, I've been here before. You know, I've experienced this exact same thing, like this exact moment. So it is kind of a weird sensation.
Right. Yeah. I've had those too. Yeah, I don't know what happens. It's strange. I guess your brain kind of misfires. I'm not sure what's happening there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The nervous system is a fascinating structure that I guess no one really understands half of it, right? So, right. I mean, that's probably a whole ridiculously interesting field, you know?
These bodies that we are in, these vehicles, are really complex.
Yeah, they are.
Right.
You know, I think it's easy to take it for granted, but...
Yeah, and I don't know. So fragile, too.
Mm-hmm.
Just bizarre. We're some crazy critters.
Yeah, we are. On so many planes.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you, what month of the year is your birthday?
June.
And what day? Just curious.
6.
June 6th?
6?
Yeah, 6/6. My mom chose the day that both of us, well, all three of us were born, because she had to have cesareans. But my brother, she chose April 4th, 4/4, and she chose 6/6 for us. And I was like, why did you do it that way? And she's like, so I can remember your birthday.
Oh, that's a good reason, I guess.
It is. There was some thought put into it, right?
I don't know. Let's just make it easy. That's pretty funny.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier in the podcast that you've sold stuff off social media. Do you like social media?
Not in the least. It's another thing. I like it. It's a great tool for marketing and sales, and I love to see what, the people I care about are doing. And I love to see good news. And I'm friends with a lot of other artists, and I love to see their success and things like that, and the amazing paintings and things that they're doing. But I don't like getting sucked down into it at all. Like, I don't like technology, period, because I don't think we ever really had it. I spent my youth, like, we didn't have TV, we didn't have anything like that. And it was pretty simplistic upbringing. So it's hard for me to almost like to accept it still, I guess. Like, just go away, all this technology. If I didn't have to use it as a tool for selling work and for things like that, I wouldn't be a Facebooker or an Instagrammer. What do you guys think of it?
I'm completely of the same mindset. I think it's a necessary evil in this day and age. It would be curious to talk to somebody that is younger, that has figured out a way to be successful without utilizing social media, but it's such a fabric of who we are as a society and a culture now. I think it's hard to get away from it. So I approach it much like you do. It's a tool to promote and market, but outside of that, I'd rather not be on it at all, to be honest with you. I mean, it's educational in some ways, but it's a huge time waster as well. And I think there's always a kind of a dialogue in my mind. In fact, yesterday, my good friend, Wes Brown, he logged on about 9:00 to do this interview with you.
Yesterday.
So he was
early.
Yesterday.
He was a day early. So he's been patiently waiting for us to get on and do this interview this morning.
No.
Last night was a bitch. It was long. I was like, I don't know where they are, but I'm not leaving. That's not true.
I'm sorry.
No, I was me. I just totally read the wrong calendar. Just like, I'm all in on Saturday. Got up at 5. Like, ooh.
How much of your day did you waste?
I was probably took me 30 minutes to realize, it's tomorrow. Like, I logged on early thinking Todd was going to get on. And I sent him a text. I'm on. He didn't read it. Then I called him like right before. I'm like, hey, and he didn't answer. And I'm like, oh my God. And then my head was like, God, I hope he's all right. I hope nothing happened to Todd, and then all of a sudden I went back to my calendar and I'm like, oh, that's tomorrow. So then I was like, oh, never mind. I found it on that. I picked the wrong date. So probably a half hour, but I'm just sitting here. I was researching you and looking at your images, and it was pretty productive. So,
but so here is my thing: is that he was trying to get a hold of me, but I had gone to bed.
You went dark.
Yeah, I went dark. So I had my phone plugged in the living room. I was hanging out watching something on television with my wife, and then I got in bed. And then as I was laying down, I was like, man, I left my phone out in the living room. And then I was like, had this whole conversation with myself. Why the hell am I considering getting up, getting dressed again to walk out in the living room to retrieve this phone? Why do I need to have that thing like within arm's reach 24/7? Like, I should just leave it out there. Like, I should make that part of my routine. Like, when I go to bed, I'm done for the day. Like, I don't need to be connected. So I left it out there. And of course, the one time that I do this and decide to make that decision, it's the day that Wes is, and that was
Eager
going
to
through
be
my
on.
thought. That was my thought too. It's like, well, what if somebody has to get a hold of me? What will happen? What if my mom is trying to call me about something that's important, or something has happened, or I felt like I needed to have that. But why do I have that need? It's so silly. I didn't grow up with that. So why do we now feel like we have to be attached to these instruments, these devices 24/7?
I mean, I don't like it either, but to me, I feel like, I guess I'm a nervousy person, but I'm like, what if there's an emergency? I need this with me at all times in case. Like, I'm always expecting the worst, I guess. I'm like, I don't know. You might have to be there for somebody. So that's the reason I keep it close by, but I don't like that either. Like, maybe we should just make these things where you mount it to the wall and it's like you hang it up like you used to do with the little dial tone ones. So like, or whatever you call it.
Rotary phones.
Rotary, yeah. And you just hang it up and walk away from it. But you can hear it ring, right? So maybe we need to do that. It might be an idea.
Yeah, they conditioned us well, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like Pavlov's dog, man. My phone goes off. It could be somebody else's phone. I'll look at mine. I was in a chamber mixer, and there was like 4 of us sitting around, and somebody's phone went off, and I knew it wasn't mine, and so did everybody else. Knew it wasn't theirs, but we all like broke our phones out and looked at them like, oh, not me. I'm good. So it's like Pavlov's dog. They've they got the bells and whistles and the lights, and yeah, we conditioned well.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it's a sickness. And I have very much a love-hate relationship with this whole thing we call technology.
Do you still track your kids by it, Todd?
I do, actually. Well, they don't have it on half the time anyway.
Oh.
They're actually tracking us now, my wife and I. So, but I just read an article, and it was they were talking with Christopher Walken, the actor, right? And he said that he has never owned a computer or any kind of mobile phone, none of that. He doesn't have email. And, people are like amazed by that. But he's in this little blurb of this interview. He said that, I've never felt the need. I don't know how to work it. When I go on a movie set, they give me one, but I always give it to my assistant or somebody else so that they can work it, because I don't know how to work it. And he's like, and everywhere I go, somebody has a phone that I can use. So I never worry about having one of my own. And I thought, wow, how free is that to be untethered all the time? I mean, when I travel and I'm in remote places and I don't have cell service, I love that. It's a rarity, but I love that freedom. I feel like this almost like a weight has been lifted off of me. And if I can get to a point where I don't need to be in that position and have a cell phone, I will definitely get rid of my cell phone in a minute, in a heartbeat.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on all that. And I can't see them going away unless we have like an apocalypse or something. So
right?
We just have to accept it. I don't know.
Pretty soon they'll be implanted in you.
Right.
That's not happening to me.
No, I'm not going that route either. The flip side is that you have this, it's pretty amazing. You have this supercomputer that you're carrying around in your back pocket at any given time, Right. Here I am. I'm this monkey with this supercomputer at my disposal.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it because it gives me directions. That's the only thing I feel like it's good for half the time. I have this friend that he's been a friend since I was like 10 years old, but he has a dumb phone, and I'm just like, wow, look at that. Like, look at that dumb phone. I want one so bad. But how will I know where I'm driving to? I don't know. I love that but to always have the internet with you is hard because you want to look things up half the time. And I'm just like, get thee away from me. I need a book or something.
Yeah.
It starts to feel kind of yucky, doesn't it?
It does.
Both neither one of my parents have internet. And so when I go visit, it's just like, Oh my God. I can't break my laptop out and check Google. Can't check your facts.
Yeah.
It's weird. It is weird though, to be totally disconnected. Both of them have flip phones, but yeah, no internet access at all. So I get lost. I'm so ingrained in, and I do kind of like having Facebook's cool. Well, it used to be cool when you just track friends and family, but now it's become some political, diatribe that I can't stand. And Twitter's just ridiculous. And Instagram, it's a repeat of what's on Facebook. So other than it's just in images, which is nice, but yeah, we won't talk about TikTok.
Instagram kind of infuriates me because it's supposed to be this picture-based social media, yet you can only do so much with pictures, and you can't even you can't use pictures on your comments to other people's things. And it just, I'm like, what is this? This is not picture-based. It ticks me off. There's just more like visual freedom on Facebook, though Instagram claims, right? Don't they say it's like a visual picture-based platform? Yeah. But I don't really feel like it is.
Yeah.
It's taken me a while this week, I actually deleted an old Instagram profile that I had that I never did anything with, and then started a new one, and I started posting. And part of it was, I didn't understand the platform. I still don't understand it. I'm learning about it, but I can already see that there's a ton of flaws with it. And it frustrates me to no end, especially as a photographer, because you're stuck with certain formats that you have to work within. And I hate that it's a mobile, it's really made for like a mobile format. Yeah. But as a photographer, and I would think as a painter, your photographs aren't living on your phone. So to make it work on a computer, it's really frustrating. And I actually, I don't know. I'm not going to give up on it. I know I need to use it as a tool, but at the same time, it really does infuriate me. It's like, this needs a lot of work. I don't know how this is. I know it's geared towards my kids' generation and stuff, but at the same time, it's like, I don't feel like this is very user friendly.
I agree. It's the pits. I wish that, I don't know, whatever.
You sound like you're a pretty avid reader. Is that true?
Yeah, I try to get into books as much as I can. I've always got like 3 or 4 going at once, and I don't know which one to turn to next to pick back up. Like, I have upstairs books and downstairs books. My upstairs books are what I read before I fall asleep. But there'll be a couple few up there, and then a couple few downstairs that I try to read like in the living room. But my husband's like this big sci-fi dork, so he's always watching Star Wars or something awful, and I'll pick up my book then and try to read while that's going on, and it's just background things. So
I think that's really interesting that you have 3 or 4 books going on at one time, though you're really focused on that one piece when you're creating. It's interesting to see how people's brains, they compartmentalize the brain in some ways. Like, in this realm, I do this, but in this realm, I do that. And so I just think that's intriguing. My daughter is the same way. She can have 3 or 4 books going on at one time. And I can't even have somebody like talking in the background while I'm composing an email without losing my mind, because I can't get my monkey brain to stop listening to what's going on so I can compose my email. Right. What kind of things do you read?
I'm just on to a lot of novels nowadays. I agree with you though. I can't what's it called? Multifunction. I don't do that either. But my intention is to take the book, and if I can make it, like, some of them, I mean, I don't really know what I'm going to get. So some of them I don't think that I can make it past 50 pages, so I'm going to put it down. But the problem is I keep pushing because I'm like, well, maybe it'll get better and there'll be this like amazing, mind-blowing section of it and I'll totally miss it. So I read the whole damn thing and then it's like a total letdown. I don't know. So that's why I have 3 or 4 of them. And in the meantime, like if I'm 100 pages in and it's getting boring, I pick up a different one that was more exciting. So that's why I do that. But I can't do anything simultaneously with anything else. Yeah, I'm too distracted, just like you. So it's tough. I can't do that.
So give me 2 books that everybody should read.
Ooh, why do you have to do this to me? On the spot. I really love Paul Harding. He had 2 books. Here I go. See, this is why.
That's all right.
Tinkers.
Oh, Tinkers. Yep, I can't even read. There you go. It said Tinkers. So you like Paul Harding Tinkers. I
love it. I also love Steinbeck, particularly The Winter of Our Discontent. And I love Donna Tartt a lot. She's the one that wrote The Goldfinch. And she has another novel that I really love is The Little Friend that she did. It's incredible. The book is amazing, but you get to the last page and it was like, well, I feel really bad. I don't want to say it, but like, I was like, it can't end this way. I just got really upset, but I do love the book, except for the ending. And I'm not a book critic, but I don't know. Those are some favorites. That's all. And nice. I like, what do you guys have? Do you have anything I should read?
I really like the author Jim Harrison. Are you familiar with him?
No.
You probably actually really like he does a lot of what he calls novellas. So they're like they're not short stories. They're kind of in between like an actual, I guess, short story and like full on story or whatever. He writes poetry. But it really revolves around the outdoors a lot of times because he was a huge hunter and fisherman and also really into food. He was a foodie, culinary guy.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and I really enjoy his work. He's awesome.
That's cool. I'll definitely look into him. I do love the whole wildlife aspect, so that would be good to find something like that.
You'd be intrigued by the whole connection to nature, but also these characters and how they're connected to it. So I think it'd really probably resonate pretty well with you. You'll have to let me know if you decide to delve into that.
Oh, I'll definitely get a book and I don't know if it'll be an upstairs book or a downstairs book, but I'll try it out.
Well, maybe get one of his novels or novellas and get one of his books of poetry.
Oh, okay. I love poetry. Cool. Yeah, I haven't heard of them. That'll be good. I don't know. I've also been reading a lot of Shirley Jackson again. And then I've been on a David Sedaris kick just because I want to laugh a lot, but he's amazing. Have you read anything that he does?
I haven't read, but I've listened to him a lot on like This American Life and some audiobooks. But I love to hear because he can tell a story, and I like to hear him tell the story instead of reading his stuff. But yeah, he's really, really good. Yeah, I like his stuff.
Right. And I also have what I call easel books. So when I'm painting, a lot of time I have Audible and I'll listen to easel books while I'm painting. And I prefer to listen to him tell the story also rather than reading his actual books. The first time I read his work, like I actually read it out of a physical book because it was like pre-Audible technology, I guess.
Right.
But he does such a great job, and it's so freaking funny. Oh my goodness. Like, I can't describe how funny. And so, I don't know. It's just been a lot of fun listening to him. So that's like a cool thing about Audible is you get to hear him narrate his work. So, yeah.
Yeah. Another one you might like is Edward Abbey, Desert Solitaire. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah, I like it.
No.
Yeah, you might like that one. He worked for the National Park Service and he was kind of isolated. And so it's kind of a memoir, but his love of the environment. And he was kind of an environmentalist to a certain degree. And
Wow.
that would be, I think you would really like that one.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. It reminds me of the Northwoods Hermit. Have you heard of him?
I don't think so.
This is fascinating story. He's true story. He was a guy, like he's still alive. He got his license or something. He graduated high school or something. And when he turned 18, there's a book about him as well. I think it is just called The Northwoods Hermit. But when he turned 18, he just drove in his car and drove and drove and drove. And then he's from Maine. And then he turned around and went all the way back. Like, I think he went to Florida or somewhere. And then went all the way back. But instead of going home, he turned off to some place in the woods in Maine and just set up camp. And he lived there for, I think it was like 30 years. In the woods. It was just fascinating the way that he learned to live like that, because he would he was kind of bad because he would break into cabins in the winter and like take, I don't know, necessities. But he just lived that way in the woods. And could you imagine the cold like in Maine in the winter? It's gotta be like minus 20 degrees sometimes. And he also, like, he had glasses, and his bad eyesight, like, over the years got worse. And so he would break into cabins and try to find some errant glasses that would work for him. And he's always, like, trying to... And it took him years to find a pair of glasses that he could actually see out of. So he's, like, going through the woods, and he would walk on the tree roots so that he wouldn't leave footprints and things like that. Like, he was always trying to just be pretty crafty and sneaky. It's just a fascinating.
Is the book called Stranger in the Woods?
Yeah. That's
Michael Finkel. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. But anyway, he got caught like in 2013 because they put up game cameras or something to see or just some kind of surveillance to see who kept breaking into the cabin. And he finally got caught and they took him to jail. And I think it's really sad. And but he had been living on someone else's land the entire time. And the lady who owned the land didn't even know that he was there. It's like 30 years of being there.
That's crazy.
It's an amazing, incredible story. And he was released from prison and he went back to live with his mom. And so, like, now he's in society again. And I feel like that has to be hard. Like, I don't know where that's a long time, to not, and like all the technological changes that have happened over that amount of time too. So
that's an intriguing story. I remember reading a newspaper article about that guy when he got caught. I'll have to search out that book. But you're right. I can't even imagine, like, this guy has lived this lifestyle for how long did you say? 30 years? Something like that?
I think so. Yeah. It was upwards of 30 years, like 26 or something like that. Maybe even longer. I can't remember. It was a long time.
And then going to prison, being put into the prison system.
Yeah.
with all those people and, people that, might want to hurt you or, yeah,
Oh, what's
that's crazy.
interesting? What's interesting is also relative to now, he never once got sick because he wasn't around people. So like, imagine being thrown into prison. He probably got every single illness that you could possibly get within the first week of being there. Like, it's really tragic, it's really sad, but I don't know. Why can't he just go back? He just needs to go back into woods if he wants to. That's what I think.
There you go.
If you had the ability, would you choose to live a lifestyle kind of like how you grew up? Would you live off the grid?
Definitely. Yeah. Oh yeah. I would love it. Yeah.
What do you miss about that?
The simplicity. Like everything feels so complex with like devices and all that and technology, but it's also like really tough and a hard way to live. So it's complicated in that way that it's like a hard scrabble fight to ensure that you're going to be okay, like through the winter and all that. And of course, we didn't have to think about any of that as kids. Like that was mom and dad's worry, So I don't know anything about that. Like it might be insanely difficult and scary because as a kid, you're just like a numbskull running around doing like whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
But I enjoy all that stuff. Like I have a big garden now where we live, and I raise a lot of vegetables and can them and things like that. So it's been really fun. But I don't have to like depend on it like for my life or anything, which I imagine is really kind of scary. So
you have gallery representation. How did that come about? Did you approach these galleries that you're represented by, and then tell our listeners where they can find you work, what galleries carry your work?
I did. I approached. I'm at 2 right now. Lovetts Gallery in Tulsa and Abend Gallery in Denver. They're both really great people to work with. I have a really I really appreciate them, and they're laid back and nice, and so it's great to work with them. But I think I'd ended up writing to both of them to ask them if they wanted to carry my work, and it worked out. A lot of galleries will take artists, like some I guess they have more than they can deal with maybe, or like just you got to draw the line somewhere, but some won't accept any unsolicited emails about your work. But others, like on their contact page, it's a good place to check. They'll have like submission steps that you should take to submit your work to their gallery to be considered for representation. So that's a way that you can do that. I don't know. It's been good working with them. I did have some work at RJD Gallery for a couple years in Long Island. He asked me to show my work there, and that's a pretty prestigious gallery. So I was like really honored to show my work there because of that. But it was tougher. I like felt a lot of stress through that because I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I had to work insanely hard to do better work. And so I was just really stressed out to have my work in there. It was kind of a relief to not be showing with them anymore just because of my own little mental problems, I guess. So I don't know.
Do you sell your art independently too? I mean, you've mentioned selling some stuff off Facebook or social media, but do you have your own like art online gallery where people contact you direct for pieces, or no?
Yeah, I do. They either contact me over social media or through my website, and I sell that way also, which is helpful. But having the gallery, I feel like, is good because you don't have to do a lot of that. Like, there's a lot of work involved in selling and talking to people, you know, so or to collectors. So, and that can be tough, but it kind of takes that load off of you to have that outlet. But at the same time, I don't know, it's good to sell. I think I would rather just sell them by myself, but I really don't feel too opinionated about all of that. And I do like just sharing my work, and people can see it on Facebook or whatever. And, you know, it might, just to know that it might make somebody happy. That's good enough for me.
That's the highest compliment, right? When somebody loves your work and wants to, you know, design a kitchen completely around a piece that they love, you know, it doesn't get any better than that.
Right. And it just makes things feel like less lonely, I guess, because it's such a lonesome career. And you're like, I'm making this because I have to, but I'm also making this for other people. And to know that other people are enjoying it is half of the point of it, right? So it's just, I don't know. That's a rewarding part of it.
If nobody ever bought your work, if nobody wanted to have you in their gallery, would you still be doing what you're doing?
Absolutely. And I'd probably be more depressed, but I would totally. And I would still be doing it even if I didn't have the financial means. I would, I don't know, live in a cardboard box and try to work it out.
Because that's what you do.
Right.
You're a painter.
I can't see myself doing anything else. I really can't. And I've like tossed around other ideas because you get depressed or frustrated or you feel like you've hit a wall, and I'm like, well, I can't do that. I can't do that either. I can't do that either. It's like,
do you get depressed at times?
Yeah, I do, and I've struggled with that, and I really feel incredibly blessed with like good things in my life and humor. And I've had some really dark times that I've lived and have been really hard and like just disastrous. But now like everything, thank goodness, is pretty peaceful and happy. And I also found that the histamine problem I had actually makes you depressed and anxious, like the way it works in your brain. If your histamine is going off the rails, like, and I'll get the like that, and I can feel it happening, and I'm just like, ugh. And it's like I'm confused too. It's almost like there's this confusion about what to even do. Like, I'm like, should I go for a walk? I don't know. What's happening? Like, it's just like you've been smacked over the head with a baseball bat or something, and it's accompanied with like depression and anxiety, and you can just feel it hit you like a wave. And you can sit there and you can take Benadryl and it's gone. Like, you can see a massive difference. So I've struggled with that because like, I'm like, I'm in a good place in my life right now and I'm not upset. Why do I feel like this? Like, everything's good. I'm grateful for a lot of things. I'm really happy. I'm not depressed. Why do I feel depressed? So I've been battling with that for the past couple of years, and it's good that I figured out what it was, because now I can feel happier on a daily basis by keeping it under control. So
that's got to be difficult. At the same time, I would never guessed it talking with you, because you love to laugh. And that's what I love about you, is that immediately when we had our first initial conversation, within a few minutes, we were giggling on the phone about some subject, or, I mean, you just have a great sense of humor. I think you have a great outlook, and Yeah, I think that's fantastic. But I would never guess. And it's so complex that, these histamines actually have this adverse effect on you. So I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's a bizarre, it's crazy how much it can affect you. It's just, I never would have guessed it. But I think the laughing thing is inherited from my dad. He's always laughing. There's a picture of him in Vietnam, and he's got like all these guns around him, and he's just sitting there laughing. He was even laughing all the way through Vietnam. He's a funny guy. But yeah, you got to see the good stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're winding down 2020. Are you feeling pretty optimistic and hopeful for this new year? It's always, I think everybody always feels like we're turning a page no matter what it holds. Of course, we thought that last year too. And then we've talked about it before. It's so funny because like people that write blog posts on their web pages, you see the blog posts like, it's all happiness and optimism. And then the end of February, March rolls around, and it's just like you see this like cliff, and people were like, wow. But I'm pretty optimistic and hopeful for this new year. Are you?
I am, but my sister called me this morning, and I told you she's a veterinarian for the CDC. So she's informed about all these things, but she told me there's this new strain now in the UK of coronavirus that's like even 70% more infectious or something. And I'm like staring down the cliff again. I'm like, damn it, don't tell me these things. But that's horrific. Like, what's that going to do now? And I mean, there's a lot of anxiety about that, but I do like to look at the positive things and keep my spirits up, because I mean, everything that has happened in 2020, I don't want to complain about any of it, because it can always be worse. Always. And I'm just like, think about how much worse it could be. So like, I have to be grateful for the shitstorm we're in right now. The smell is great.
It's our shit show, and let's embrace it.
Yes. Looking good. So anyway, that's just how I try to view it, and I hope for the best. And I don't know. I don't, like, everybody is now saying 2020 is going to be over soon, yay! Like 2021, let's go. And I'm like, you're totally jinxing it. Stop doing that. I don't know. Yeah. So we'll see.
In your career as an artist, are there anything you want to share with other artists, or tips and tricks that you've learned over the years that you find have been really beneficial? We talked about a few things, not a lot of business today, but just curious if there's anything that has really helped you as an artist, and things or something that you think is really important that artists should think about and know.
I would just say to try not to lose yourself, or your voice, because I think that's where the magic is. And if you're doing something that isn't part of your embodiment in your soul, then I think it's going to be harder to get it done, and it's going to be wrong somehow. You know what I mean? So just try to trust your instincts and listen to yourself. And that's part of the reason why I don't want to take in all this beautiful art around me that I see all the time. I want to see it because it's magnificent and I just love to see it. But at the same time, I don't want to be persuaded to do this or that thing that I wouldn't have done that came from me and not somebody else, if that makes sense. Hopefully.
Yeah, so should be authentic to yourself.
Right, definitely. Yeah. And it's hard and easier said than done, but try not to lose hope, I guess, because it can be like you're just such a singular person, right? You're the only one there all the time, basically. So it's hard to know that you're even doing anything, and you're kind of like, why am I doing this? I mean, is this just for me? Because I don't know, I'm frustrated with this or that, and then you just get downhearted. It's tough to describe, but yeah.
Do you have any shows planned for 2021? Do you have anything specifically going on that's scheduled out for 2021?
I don't particularly. There are like a few shows that each gallery puts on, and I always participate, group shows rather, and I always participate in those. And so I'm going to try to make work for those, but I just really want to focus on kind of getting back on my feet, because I feel like I'm at a place right now where, like, knock on wood, health wise, things are better, and I hope they stay that way. But so I really want to try to just get the work done and go back to that like spiritual being inside of me, and just really tap into that and work with that, and just focus on that for now. And whatever happens with the work will happen later, to like wherever it ends up, right? So that's the main goal for the year, is to just kind of like reassemble myself. I feel like I've been scattered into like a million pieces for the past few years, and yeah, it's like a pick up the pieces kind of year. That's the plan anyway.
It's a good plan. That is a good plan.
We'll see how it goes.
Well, Mary, thank you so much for spending time with Wes and I today. I love your work. It's beautiful. Again, to our listeners, if you want to check out Mary's work, it's maryc.com, MERRYSEE. And I will also have Mary's social media and links to the galleries that she's a part of in the episode notes for this week.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. This has been great. And I really do appreciate what you all are doing. I think it's amazing. I've listened to, I think, 5 or 6 of them now while I've been painting, and I love your show. So it's just an honor to be on here. And hopefully I help someone with something by doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think I really loved the discussion about your autoimmune illness. And I think that, we haven't talked about that. So I think anytime we can share information about that, because there's a lot of people that goes through that. So I really appreciate your time coming on the show. And I like Todd said, I love your work. I think you do a phenomenal job, and thank you for putting that out to the world. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for being a part of what makes that happen too, by doing your podcast. Like, that's a great help for us artists. So we really appreciate like the time that you all spend doing this. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
It was great to meet you guys.
It's great meeting you.
For the Tenet Podcast, I'm Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown.
Have a great week.